one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, quickly, before I get to why I'm yelling, any out of town or town head has to sign up front. So if you haven't, why don't you try out there while I'm explaining the So, going to be extra quiet. So, the sound system is not functioning. The TV broadcast is not functioning. There is no requirement that you have TV broadcast, regulation of bylaw, rule, or anything. And the closed captioning is all
not working well.
Not working well. Ian and the WCAT crew came in today. Apparently something up there is different. So we're going to move on. We're going to go forward. We have two functioning mics, one here and one up there. Okay? And I'm pretty sure you can hear me. Okay? And if I need to be louder, I will need a couple of shots to kill it. But we're just going to go like this. All right? Now, first thing we have pledge and return of service. Into whatever record this is. I, Constable Kevin J. Williams, hereby certify that I hosted the annual town meeting warrant of May 4, 2026 on April 16, 2026. Constable Kevin J. Williams. Yeah, so the PowerPoint that was supposed to work may or may not, you know. PowerPoint's good. Bad information from the insurance, there's a rare moment. So anyway, you fouled the insurance. Okay. So anyway, we're going to start off with Dan Sherman, who does his sort of annual review and forecast, which sets out, you know, sort of where we're at and where we're going. So, right, Dan,
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Oh, yeah, it works. Very good. Is there a way to dim the lights on the screen? Does anybody know? Oh, there we go. Excellent. Thank you. So I'm going to race through the history pretty quickly and get into the now and the future. Real quick on receipts, you can see they're tracking from 2001 through 2025. Important here is our 5-year average and our 10-year average is about 4.5 to 4.6% per year. This is an important percentage that'll come back in a minute. This graph is really important for the far right in yellow. Our investment income took a huge increase in 24 and 25 thanks to the new high school. It's something I had not anticipated when I did my forecast last spring, in that the money that was given to the town via the bonds are now invested. Ed Dombrowski, our treasurer, in a much more efficient and advantageous area. So you can see that for 2025, it's close to $4 million. It's going to be about 3.8 million for 26 in that amount. But going forward, it's going to be about $2 million. And let me give a special thanks to Ed for all of his work and the fact that we used to receive, you can see the yellow used to be a couple 100,000, 200,000, something like that. Going forward, it's going to be $2 million. This is huge, a big help for us. Our state aid has been relatively flat, 2% per year since 2000. It's dismal, it hasn't been going up at all like it should be. And one thing that we're really struggling with is getting our legislators to give us additional funds. I understand we might be for 100,000 after the vote today. In addition, we'll see this coming up. Stabilization fund, our balance is roughly $4 million. It's less than 3% of our total budget. One of the things the town finance committee and town council has a policy that stabilization plus free cash should be at least 10% of our budget. So right now the stabilization is just a little bit less than 3%. And our free cash was about 11% as of July 1st, but in the spring, we spent about $4.5 million of that to balance the budget. So now it's about 6.84% of our budget, so we add that to stabilization. We're right about 10% on our reserves, which looks pretty good. So 25, I think we're fine. So our budgets over the last 5 years, recall that I said our income is burning about 4.5% a year. Bottom line, in the middle right, total is about 5.1. And major departments are substantially above roughly 4.5% of income. Schools at 4.9, fire at 6. Library's been hanging in there, they're doing pretty well on their budget. 5.5% increase on police. DPW is not too bad, 3.8. General government has a big increase. We spent a lot more money on general government at 7.3. Human services at 4.7, but the total is 5.1. So we're spending more than we're receiving. We have done that for the last 5 years. It's catching up to us, and we'll talk about 27 here in a minute. So for 26, as I mentioned, we're about 10.7%, a little bit above our target of 10% for our reserves. Snow and ice, we all know we had a pretty rough winter. That's going to cost us $664,000 in for the fiscal 27 budget. Even though it was incurred in 26, we're allowed to carry that over and pay for it in 27. And then again, as I mentioned, investment income from the high school bonds and better investment, $2 million roughly of regular income and $2.4 million from high school bonds for 26. A little less than $2 million for 27, and maybe zero for 28 as the new high school was completed and all the bills are paid to the various contractors. So looking forward to 27, this year. Present value of all our debt, we have almost $126 million in long-term debt. We're still paying for a number of projects, Galvin, Greenwood, some roads, drainage, etc. Retirement fund, we're about a $45 million in that unfunded liability. We have an OPEB unfunded liability that stands for other post-employment benefits. The easy way to think about it is retiree medical. So, because our retirees receive medical coverage, we have an unfunded liability there of about $56 million. So long-term debt of about $126 million that we're slowly paying down. The revenues for tax levy, we're projecting a $3.7 million increase, roughly at 3.85%, or $92 million. It does include, I've got a figure at 1.306 for new growth. And if you asked our assessor, he said, give or take 25% from that. We don't know. We won't know for quite some time until everything is done at the end of this year. Increase of state aid is only $451,000. It's a very small increase. I'm carrying $12.3 million in local aid is my best guess. Free cash, we're going to have to spend almost $2 million of our free cash to balance the budget. We're short that far. And this, by the way, is the Finance Committee's recommendation. As you all know, the school committee did not accept our recommendation of reducing $300,000 on their budget. So if that does come to fruition, then that would be our shortfall would be about $2.3 million. We received $1 million from the Light Department. Withdrawal available funds and withdrawal of $281,000. So our total revenues is $128.3 million. So where does the money go? So we have an increase in revenue of $3.5 million total, 2.8% increase. Initial increases for spending, salaries at $4 million, retirement at $548, healthcare at $895, Medicare at $79, vocational schools $438. The new vote, we had a big increase last year for the construction up there. That's going to level out it, and I'm assuming about 4%. Department requests, though, you'll see the difference there, $4.5 million or 4.8%. Schools are asking for 5.7. Police, fire, DPW, you see those with little approximations in front of them. Because one of the things that we don't have or did have is we still don't have CBA contracts for police, fire, and DPW. There was an article that we're gonna get to later on in the agenda that had a provision for settling collective bargaining agreements. We have 5 unions that are collective bargaining right now. Libraries at 2.8, the general government had a big increase at 10%. So given the 133 versus the 128, the difference of $5 million, that's where we started from the department request. So our current free cash after we spent the money fallen is only $8.8 million. We do expect free cash to go up $1 million because money comes back. People only have one budget, but they don't spend it all. And the various departments have provided money coming back. That also includes the healthcare budget has returned upwards of $1 million or $2 million. That's now done. We only expect a couple $100,000 for 27 or 26. I'm sorry, because the GIC, which provides our insurance, is raising their rates in the neighborhood of 8.2%. So that salad days of healthcare budgets helping us out with free cash are over. So that would leave us free cash at the end of the year at $5.4 million and projected to be zero in 2029 if we continue on the same track that we have been, and reserves are down to 6.2% rather than 10% policy. So that's what we started with about a month, 3 weeks ago. So why are we in such difficult conditions? We had 5.6 million that are exceeding went to the general fund. We are not getting the ARPA money, no opioid money. Healthcare is going up to 8+%, as I mentioned. We got the snow and ice overdraft. Northeast Wolf went up 16.5% because of construction and students. And we did $600,000 pulled from the overlay account as a one shot. So all those things basically gone away. So the FinCom's response is to make a series of reductions, and town council has gone along with these. We reduced the accounting, assessors, police, fire, animal control, DPW, veterans by about $300,000. We've got some articles that have been postponed. Parking lot, wall repair, building use study, it's about $500,000. On the group health side, we were scheduled to put $500,000 into the OPEB trust. Instead, we're going to pull $1.5 million out of the trust. So that trust is about $48 million. It's been growing at roughly 7.5% per year. It's done extremely well. Just the income portion of that trust is about $3 to $3.5 million. So we're pulling 1.5, so our OPEB trust will still go up, just not as much. And for those of you who recall, years ago, I pushed for setting up this fund, putting money aside. And one of the things I had mentioned at the time, if we come into a difficult time, if we have a little problem somewhere down the road, we can tap that fund. That day is upon us. We are now tapping that fund to the tune of $1.5 million to lower our shortfall. Finance Committee is recommending a reduction in school budget of $300,000. So total reduction is about $3.1 million. So now when you go through the math, I'm showing a difference of 1,882. Well, this evening at 6:30, Finance Committee met, and we got some new numbers on a couple of things. There was 2 articles that were going to be for free cash that are now part of fiscal year 27. So the new number is not 1,882, it's on the screen, it's 1,998. Call it $2 million shortfall based on the Finance Committee recommendation. So basically what we did is we bought ourselves about a year. We will not run out of cash until maybe 31. But our reserves will still be below at the 10% policy at 9.2 at the end of fiscal year 27. So the challenges, we still have all the challenges of buildings, energy costs, maintenance. We have capital projects down the road to the tune of almost $33 million. We have a big challenge of getting back to 10%. It's going to be a while. A lot of things are going to have to change. Reductions of federal state aid, that help us at all. And so our cost are exceeding our revenue and continue to do that. And interest rates on free cash may decline. So the $2 million might become 1.5, 1.4. Who knows? No one knows what interest rates are going to do. So in the current forecast, I expect an increase of about $1 million in town department other sources to come in. Our deficit spend, call it $2 million. We have no free cash by fiscal year 31, and reserves are all depleted by fiscal year 32. So the numbers, and again, these are off a little bit because of the slight shift. But you can see right now, I'm projecting an increase in cost to go up about 4.25%, 4+%, and our increase in income is less than 4%, at roughly 388, call it 4. So right now, we're still on track and spending more than what we have. I don't budget my home that way. We never spend more than what we have, but right now the town is spending more than what we have. So I looked at, okay, what can we do going forward to fix this problem, to get us back in line? And so I just ran through various scenarios. What about this? What about that? Different things that threw up there. If all departments, and I mean all departments, hold their expenditure increase from year to year to 3%, the state starts doing what it's supposed to do and give us better aid at 4% or more. New growth has to exceed 4%, which we're not expecting, and we'll have to look at some additional fees. That's the only way to fix the track that we're on, but otherwise, our state's ahead. I don't want Wakefield to have the same experiences that are happening around our neighbors. Maybe you've heard about the layoffs, Lexington, Arlington, Watertown, Winchester. A lot of communities are suffering. Right now, we don't have to suffer for 27. 28 is going to be a different matter unless we start making some serious changes in how we spend our money. And I think that is it for me. Thank you.
First item is I will in a moment entertain a motion for a consent agenda. We have instituted this a while back. What it is, we just explain it. All the articles that are sort of come up every year, never had much discussion, and just go along. We lump them all together, and we vote them yea or nay all the time. What that will require is a motion to take them out of order, which will require a 2/3 vote. Correct? Yeah. 2/3. So we'll do that. If anyone has an objection to one of those articles staying within the consent agenda, they can object to it. Okay? We have no bylaw or regulations. When we first instituted this, that's sort of the discretion we have used. If somebody thinks that, hey, this needs to be debated fully as a full article, then it will be taken out. Okay, everybody understand that? Okay? All right. Now, how do these things? You're up.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. That the town vote to take the following articles out of order and as part of a consent agenda. Articles 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 14, 18, and 25.
Okay. Is there a second? Now, before we move forward, just so you know, I should have done this before. On page 5 of your booklet, it gives a brief discussion about what those are. So why don't I give you a few moments here to look those over, okay? Shouldn't take too long. All right. We are not moving on whether you want to object yet. Hold your powder, Dan. Everybody get a chance to look at those? All right, the motion is whether we should take these particular articles out of order, okay? We'll decide whether they stay in the consent agenda or not after that motion. So, does anyone have any questions or comments on taking these particular items out of order? There being no discussion, all in favor? All opposed? Is anyone opposed? Okay, so it's unanimous. We don't need a count. Now, the question before you is, does anyone have an objection to any particular article being included in the consent agenda? Mr. Lieber. Okay, so they're out. Okay, 5 and 8 are out. Any other objections to any other article under the consent agenda? All in favor of the consent agenda? All opposed? Motion carries. We will now move on to, Dee, let me ask you this. Do we have motions and speakers for 5 and 8? Okay, thanks. Just double checking. All right, you want to proceed now with, we got to do Article 1. Okay. Article 1, to determine how much money the town will vote to raise and appropriate from the tax levy or transfer from available funds for general government, protection of persons and property, human services, public works, public service enterprises, education, unclassified, benefits and administration, and light department, specifying what appropriation shall be taken from the receipts or the department, to see what the town will do about it. All right? And as you know, we break these down into individual votes on each individual department, okay? Your motion? You want to read your motion first?
To determine how much money the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds for general government, protection of persons and properties, human services, public works.
No, your motion's on the right, I think. If you look, yeah.
I'm reading your motion for you.
That's the article, yeah.
All right. That the town raise and appropriate from tax levy or transfer from available funds the sum of money as detailed in the following recommendations for fiscal year July 1, 2026 through June 30, 2027 in the grand amount totaling $137,012,836.06. The motion will provide for the breakdown of this amount and the sources thereof in the various classifications as described in the recommendation book to carry out the purpose of this article.
Is there a second?
Just a clarification, Mr. Moderator. The amount $137,012,835.06.
Thank you, Mr. Chines.
Just wanted to, is that correct, Madam Administrator?
I have 35, correct, thank you.
Excellent. Second.
All right, we'll start with general government. Yeah.
Without getting into the details, does the motion need to be made by a member of the body? As much as our town administrator will do a wonderful presentation, I don't believe she's considered to be a member of the voting body to be able to be eligible to actually make the motion for the expenditure itself.
Yeah, no, I'm going to allow that. I'm going to allow that. Excellent.
Good evening, everyone. As we present Wakefield's fiscal 2027 budget, I want to begin by recognizing the hard work, professionalism, and dedication of our employees. Every day, across every department, we strive to deliver the highest quality of services to our residents and our businesses. That commitment remains unwavering, even as we navigate some of the most challenging financial conditions that we have faced in years. The reality before us is clear. The federal and state aid that has helped sustain local operations during and after the pandemic has come to an end. Programs like ARPA, the American Rescue Plan Act, provided temporary but significant assistance. Those funds helped us maintain services and invest in small business through truly unprecedented times. But those one-time revenue sources were never meant to last forever, and that chapter has closed. At the same time, we are seeing a reduction in both federal and state aid to municipalities statewide. This pattern is not unique to Wakefield. It is a challenge faced by many communities across the Commonwealth. Meanwhile, the cost of maintaining essential services, public safety, education, public works, public health, and infrastructure continue to rise. Adding to these pressures are the constraints of Proposition 2.5, which limits annual property tax levy increase to 2.5% plus new growth. That framework, while designed to protect taxpayers, also restricts how quickly revenues can grow to meet increasing costs. And our free cash level, a vital measure of fiscal flexibility, has declined, reducing our ability to bridge short-term gaps. I corresponded with our state delegation, Representatives Kate Lipper-Garabedian, Representative Wong, and Senator Lewis, asking them to seriously consider the Mass Municipal Association's report titled Navigating the Storm, Charting a Course Towards Fiscal Stability. The report stresses that local governments must be given more flexibility with raising local revenue and fully funding unrestricted general government aid, also known as UGA, to reflect rising inflation while also fully funding Chapter 90, which is financial aids to towns for roadway infrastructure improvements. The state must also fund Chapter 70 at the appropriate levels. Chapter 70 is financial aid to public education. The Chapter 70 formula used to determine a district's allocation is flawed and needs to be fixed. I will continue to stress that fact to lawmakers. Change to that methodology is absolutely necessary so that systems like Wakefield are receiving our fair share of funds to support our students. Moving forward, changes will need to be made about how we budget in future years. Next year, we will begin the budget process earlier and begin with revenues. There will be communication and collaboration between Town Council, Finance Committee, and the School Committee much earlier in the budget process. We will also communicate more frequently to the public. It is essential that we avoid last-minute budget decisions and changing recommendations that we saw this year leading up to this town meeting. We will continue to prioritize the needs of our residents, public safety, education, infrastructure, and support for our seniors and our families, while ensuring that every dollar is spent wisely and efficiently. This is also a moment of opportunity, and I am an optimist. It is an opportunity to rethink how we deliver services, to explore regional partnerships, and to leverage technology where it can make us more efficient. It's an opportunity to engage with residents about our long-term needs, whether that means considering strategic investments now that will reduce costs later, or exploring new intermunicipal agreements to regionalize services. In my 6 months as your town administrator, I've learned that Wakefield's strength has always been its people, our engaged residents, our local businesses, our dedicated employees, and our shared belief in community. We've weathered challenges before. We've emerged stronger through collaboration, innovation, and a relentless commitment to doing what is right for our town. The future will require careful choices and shared responsibility, but I am confident that with transparency, communication, thoughtful planning, and continued partnerships between town and school leadership, town council, school committee, finance committee, and our businesses and residents, we can continue to provide the exceptional services that Wakefield deserves reasonably and sustainably. As this is my first year as your town administrator, I wish to express my deep appreciation to all my department heads. Every one of them came to their budget meetings with level service budget requests, areas where efficiencies could be made, and made hard decisions when reducing budgets. I wish to thank all of our citizen volunteers who serve on boards, committees, or commissions. Wakefield could not run without the dedication and expertise you bring. I also appreciate the residents and businesses of Wakefield who have warmly welcomed me in a very short period of time and made me feel like a true part of the community. Thank you to our public safety departments who put their well-being on the line to ensure that we are safe and well protected. Thank you to Chief Scory and Chief Purcell for your dedication to Wakefield and the leadership that you provide your staff. Thank you to our DPW through Joe Conway, the director, who did an incredible job this winter getting us through an epic amount of snowfall, never failing to make sure our streets were passable. I owe special thanks to many people. Liz Rourke, Assistant Town Administrator for Finance, Operations, and Sherry Dalton, Chief Administrative Officer. This budget process and preparing for town meeting would have been impossible without them. Tom Mullen, our Town Council, Victor Santaniello, our Assessor, Ed Dombrowski, our Treasurer, Town Council, and I'd like to just highlight, and I did not see her, our former Chair, Maureen Butt, who served 9 years, attended hundreds of meetings, and had perfect Town Council attendance. Hi, I didn't see you. School Committee and Dr. Lyons and his management team, who have been assets to me during this budget process. Dr. Lyons, I truly value our relationship. The Finance Committee Chair, Jim Sullivan, and last but not least, Capital Planning Committee Chair, Phil Renzi, who I think is still mad at me because I capped the committee at $2 million. In 1911, Teddy Roosevelt said, "I refer to the New England town meeting at which purely town matters are decided without appeal by the vote of townspeople in meeting assembly. In no other part of the world, save 1 or 3 cantons of Switzerland and perhaps a certain district of Norway, is there any form of government so absolutely democratic, so absolutely popular as the New England town meeting." End quote. Thank you all for being here and participating in the purest form of democracy, the New England Annual Town Meeting. The budgets before you have gone through several presentations, scrutiny, and vetting by myself, department heads, the Assistant Town Administrator for Finance, Town Council, Finance Subcommittees, the full Finance Committee, Capital Planning Committee, School Committee, with the final recommendations coming from the Finance Committee. Mr. Moderator, I ask that we move on to the general government portion of the budget.
You're all set. So you make a motion now for the bottom, turn to your bottom line, page 12 on your booklet, and you want to make a motion for that total amount,
Yep.
the number on the right for general government, okay?
Yep, I wrote them down here. Okay. So that the town raise and appropriate the sum of $4,375,526.55 for general government, and to provide therefore that the sum of $4,500 be appropriated by transfer from the Wetland Protection Act filing fee account to the Conservation Commission Personal Services account, and the sum of $4,371,026.55 be raised and appropriated from the tax levy as stated in the recommendation book.
Is there a second? You're up.
The general government portion of this budget represents the administrative departments of the town. This total budget request is $4,375,526.55. The general government budget includes the following departments: Town Council, Accounting, Information Technology, Treasurers, Legal, Collectors, Assessors, Town Clerk, Election Registration, Election Expense, Finance Committee, Conservation, Planning Board, and Board of Appeals. I will not highlight the budgets where there is a material change from FY 2026. The reduction in the town council's personal services is a result of the retirement of the town administrator and the assistant town administrator for finance. The increase in contractual services is for training and professional development for our staff. The reduction in the accounting budget is as a result of holding the town accountant position open for half of fiscal 2027. The substantive changes in the IT budget are a result of moving IT-related expenses, such as telephones, into this budget from other departments to create better transparency and oversight. There is also an increase in employment training, primarily due to the move to Microsoft 365 and continued important training in security threats. The final increase is an increase to the Microsoft 365 licensing fee. These increases were offset by a decrease in software maintenance as our IT staff is taking advantage of the more advanced features built into Microsoft 365. The salaries of the tax collector and personal services were reversed in your book. The increase in contractual services is due to the increase in postage. The budget change in election registrations and expense are a result of moving charges that were paid for from other budgets to this budget for better budget tracking. The reduction in the personal services and conservation is a reflection of the appropriate salary of the conservation agent. Human resources is a new department in this budget. This budget was nestled within the group and health insurance budget. This change will result in greater management of expenses. The purpose of the salary contingency budget is to set aside an amount of money where the town anticipates that we will settle our respective union whose contracts will expire on June 30th. That would be the patrol union, the supervisor union in the police department, the fire department, public works, and our supervisors. By doing this, we will be able to pay staff their new fiscal 2027 salaries when we settle, and they will not have to wait until November, the regular town meeting, to receive their contractual increases. The other respective budgets found in general government are level funded, with the exception of any contractual or negotiated items. The budget is supported by town council, and you will hear from the finance committee.
Mr. Sullivan, you didn't have to remind me.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. The Finance Committee recommends favorable action.
Hey, Dee, could you give me that bottom line number again? I didn't write it down on your motion.
4 million?
Yeah. 4 million,
4,375,526
right?
and 55 cents.
Oh, okay, all right, that's it. Any discussion on the motion under general government? There being no motion, all in favor, or no discussion? Oh, there is. You have discussion? You have to go up to the microphone.
Michael Turner, 16 Wilson Road. Just a point of information about the increase in postage, so it's $150,000. Just clarity there. In the IT budget that was specified.
So let me get to that.
Stamps?
It's the cost of stamps.
Right.
That was in,
He said stamps.
so what, can you repeat your question? I'm not sure I'm understanding. The increase in IT?
Yeah.
In the contractual services, you specified there was an increase in the spending. I believe it was $150,000 all in. And you mentioned that postage was the main line item going there. If that was just stamps, great. That just seemed a little bit larger than I expected.
No. It's the telephones.
That makes sense. Thank
Sorry. We transferred all telephones to IT.
You going left or right? Oh, you're going back to your seat. Any further discussion on the motion under general government? Being no discussion, all in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. We are on to protection of persons and property. D.
That the town raise and appropriate the sum of $16,681,026.19 for protection of persons and properties from the tax levy as stated in the recommendation book.
Is there a second? D, you're up.
The budget for protections of persons and property is $16,681,026.19, which is an increase of 14.05%. The police department's budget is $7,986,261 for fiscal 2027, which is an increase of 0.69%. This budget provides for staff divided into 11 command staff, consisting of the chief, the deputy chief, 2 lieutenants, and 11 sergeants. The remainder of the staff responds to calls for service with other specialist positions that focus on records, court prosecution, detectives, mental health, domestic violence, substance abuse cases, and serve as school resource officers. This budget also includes the addition of 1 patrol officer, which is needed to respond to the rising costs of calls for service. This position will not be funded until January 2027 to save money in this budget. Our police department is a certified police department with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, which is a testament to the competence and quality of the Wakefield PD. As I stated earlier, the town is currently negotiating with 2 unions in that department. I have received emails from residents praising the work of our police department, notably the professionalism and compassion that officers show. We are grateful for all they do, and I look forward to working with Chief Scory and his staff in the years to come. The fire department portion of the budget is $7,966,688.09, which is an increase of 1.8 over fiscal 26. This budget includes 36 firefighters, 12 lieutenants, 4 captains, 1 fire prevention captain, 1 deputy chief, the fire chief, and an administrative assistant. These are the required staffing levels to safely operate at emergency incidents, handle increased volume, and reduce reliance on mutual aid with our fellow cities and towns. The Wakefield Fire Department responded to 5,347 calls in 2025, representing a wide range of incidents, including structure fires, motor vehicle accidents, medical emergencies, hazardous waste, service calls, and public assistance. Call volume increased 13.14% from 2024, and demands for service and department resources continue to rise. All members of the department are certified as emergency medical technicians in the state of Massachusetts. As I stated earlier, the town is currently negotiating with the fire union, IAFF Local 1478. We are grateful for the hard work and dedication and bravery of the members of the Wakefield Fire Department. Their service is crucial to our community's safety. I look forward to continuing to work closely with the chief and his team to assess long-term equipment needs and improve the department's ability to serve the community. The fire alarm, police signal, and traffic light budgets are $83,000. This is a part-time department that consists of 2 off-duty fire department members who are paid an hourly rate. They are responsible for maintaining the town-wide fire alarm system, signalized intersections, and pedestrian crossings, and all town traffic signals. The town enjoys a significant cost savings when compared to using private contractors. They also maintain the fire alarm system that consists of 330 fire alarm boxes connected directly to both stations, providing instantaneous notification of alarm of a fire. Of that, 225 fire alarm boxes are connected to public-private buildings, providing the most efficient fire detection system. And I'd like to thank Captain Hudson for his work on that. Emergency management. The emergency management portion of this budget is $95,250.60, and I would like to acknowledge Director Tom Walsh, who strives to find every grant available and works closely with public safety to ensure that we are ready in case of a town-wide emergent event. Inspectional services. The inspectional services budget is $503,220. Over the past year, the department has experienced increase in permit volume, inspections, and enforcement activities. The year-to-date revenue from this department is $329,349. And this trend reflects the increase in development and places administrative demand on the inspectional services staff, plan review, and their administrative support. This budget reflects a balance between fiscal responsibility and the need to provide reliable public safety services. The building department plays a crucial role in ensuring that all construction meets the minimum safety standards, protecting residents while keeping projects moving efficiently towards completion. I'd like to thank Ben DeCristoforo and his team for all they do on a daily basis. The animal inspector budget is $35,525, which is a decrease over fiscal 2026. The decrease is due to the change in our intermunicipal agreement. We were in an agreement with Reading, which was not meeting the needs of Wakefield, hence the need for Article 12. We are now in an intermunicipal agreement with Melrose and Stoneham. Because of this new agreement, we are able to save $5,000, which was cut from this budget. I'd like to recognize and sincerely thank Health Director Anthony Chi, who has served as temporary animal control officer since December. We will be hiring for that position in the near future. The final budget in this section is parking clerk. The parking clerk budget is $11,081.50, which is level funded. And thank you to Kevin Staichi for serving as the parking clerk.
Mr. Sullivan.
The Finance Committee recommends favorable action.
Any discussion under the portion of Article 1, protection of persons and property?
Buckley, 34 Keeling Road. Does anyone on the Finance Committee, Town Council, Administrative Office have any specific or general information about how much of the funds that are now disappearing, ARPA, etc., have been baked into personnel budgets for these departments and others under, let's say, outside the school committee? Like, generally the question is, we talk about how ARPA, we all recognize it was for one-time only expenditures, and my curiosity is, as we start to hit this fiscal wall, is there any data available about how much ARPA money was used for non-one-time purposes, such as ongoing personnel?
So to my knowledge, no ARPA funds were used in either the police or the fire department. And I'm looking at the chiefs and they are agreeing.
So in general, if it's not inappropriate for the motion because we're on one specific part of town government budget, could I ask whether that statement is generally true across all of town government?
If you know,
using one-time only dollars for positions that theoretically would go on.
Yeah, I understand your question. If you know, do you know, Dean?
I will speak to that when we get to the other individual budgets.
Okay, so I won't have to get up again and ask.
Correct.
Thank you.
No?
Just additional comment?
Oh, okay.
So on the inspectional services, I think there was opioid money that was used, some one-time opioid money, is that, it's not inspection services? Health and Human Services, all right, sorry.
Thank you.
All right. Any further discussion on the motion, protection of persons and property? Being no discussion, the motion before you is to appropriate $16,681,026.19. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. We are on to Human Services. D.
That the town raise and appropriate the sum of $1,208,338.19 for the Human Services portion of Article 1 from the tax levy as stated in the recommendation book.
Is there a second? Second. Thank you. you. D, C.
The Council on Aging FY 2027 budget is $312,803.75. The increase in this budget is for additional hours for van drivers who provide a much-needed transportation service for those seniors who cannot drive, and for outreach work. The Council on Aging provides vital support and services to individuals in our community over 60. Thank you to Karen Burke and her team for providing outstanding programming and education to the elder residents of Wakefield, with things such like elder law education, disco dance tea, lunch and learn, pasta making, and the spring fling dinner and dance. Every event that I have attended has been fun and educational. The Health and Human Services budget for FY 2027 is $608,240.10. The increase in the personal services budget of this item is a result of the town ending the practice of supplanting salaries using opioid settlement funds. Moving forward, the town will seek grants and other funding mechanisms for these vital behind-the-scenes positions. Wakefield relies on 3 core positions in this department that together maintain the town's ability to meet rising resident needs, prevent crises, and support long-term health and resilience. The Social Services Coordinator provides direct assistance to hundreds of residents who face food insecurity, housing instability, and barriers to essential benefits, the most vulnerable in our community, that are often unseen. The Prevention, Outreach, and Youth Service Manager ensures that Wakefield maintains a coordinated substance abuse prevention system. This position leads opioid abatement activities, narcolepsy distribution, youth diversion programs, and the annual Recovery and Remembrance event. This position has truly saved the lives of residents by getting them the help they need to combat their addiction. The Youth Prevention and Wellness Coordinator delivers the operational capacity needed to sustain youth programming. This position supports youth action teams, the Youth Council, school partnership, and prevention events that build leadership skills and protective factors, vital to the overall health of Wakefield's youth. Together, these positions protect residents, expand access to support services, and uphold the prevention and recovery framework that Wakefield has developed over many years. Mr. Moderator, I would like for you to recognize Anthony Chi, Health and Human Services Director.
Sure, you're recognized.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight and for the care you bring to these decisions. I've had the privilege of working for Wakefield for the last 4 years, and Wakefield is a community that believes in fairness, responsibility, and making sure every resident has the support they need to live healthy, fulfilling lives. In 2022 and 2023, the administration, the department, and town council looked closely at our obligations and saw that our staffing no longer matched the work required of us. At the time, we were not meeting the FDA-recommended frequency of food inspections, and we were falling short of what the state camp code requires for safe oversight of youth camps. These real gaps will have real implications for public health. Additional staffing wasn't optional, it was necessary. ARPA and opioid settlement funds didn't create the staffing needs, they simply allowed the town to phase in the costs over time. It was always understood that those temporary funds would eventually run out. What we're seeing now isn't a surprise, but an expected transition. Last year, more than 740 families visited the Wakefield Food Pantry, where our social services coordinator was regularly on site to offer support. In addition to being present for pantry clients and office hours at the Wakefield Library, she has worked directly with 152 families and residents facing challenges such as housing instability, benefit interruptions, food insecurity, and complex health needs. Many of these cases required weeks or months of coordination with state agencies, landlords, and community partners. Without this role, many of our most vulnerable residents would be navigating this incredibly complex system entirely on their own. For many years, Health and Human Services has worked closely with our schools and community partners to build a community-wide prevention network. Parent University is only one example of these partnerships, drawing more than 100 families each year to learn about youth mental health and prevention. Through this coordinated effort, Narcan is available in every public building, and town staff are trained to respond to overdoses. And because of this approach, Wakefield has seen declines across multiple categories of youth substance use. That prevention work also includes our Youth Action Team, which has shaped more than 13 years of Wakefield High School alum. Most recently, these students created vaping cessation kits, spoke at the State House about alcohol-related harms, led mental health awareness campaigns, and helped teach peers healthy coping strategies. Many carry those leadership skills into adulthood, and that is the long-term community building that we are looking at. Meanwhile, our core public health responsibilities continue to increase. Required food inspections are up 24% in the last 2 years. Housing complaints are rising. Our nurses are managing more communicable diseases, more foodborne illnesses, and more oversight of parents and children's programs. As Wakefield continues to grow, our responsibilities grow with it. More families will need support to navigate the complex state and federal aid systems. A focus on preventing problems before they escalate helps strengthen our community for the long term and would be beneficial for all. The staffing decisions made several years ago were thoughtful, responsible, and based on needs that still exist, and in many cases have grown. Tonight, I'm asking that we preserve the capacity of the Health and Human Services Department, not just the positions, but the ability to provide essential, life-changing services to all residents, especially those who are disadvantaged or struggling. Let's continue to make Wakefield a place where every resident can access the support that keeps them healthy, stable, and safe. A place where we uphold our commitment to one another, and where our values are reflected in the choices we make. Thank you.
The Recreation Department budget is $136,136, which is level funded. Whether your passion is pickleball, tap dancing, tennis for adults, and for you parents, things that are available to the kids such as fencing, flag football, brush and paint, or ninja warriors, there's something for everyone at the Recreation Department. Thank you to Dan McGrath for doing so much with so very little staff. The Veterans Department budget is $151,158.34. The Veterans Service Office is responsible for administering payment to recipients of hospital, medical, and ordinary sustenance benefits. The town is reimbursed up to 75% of these costs. There was a reduction in the Veterans Service budget of $20,000, which represents a reduction in the number of recipients of benefits. I want to stress that this will not negatively impact any veterans, and they will continue to receive their full benefits. Thank you to Dave Mangan, our Veteran Services Officer, for his unwavering dedication to our nation's heroes.
Jim Sullivan.
The Finance Committee recommends favorable action.
Discussion under Human Services.
Hello, Christopher Bossy, 89 Outlook Road. I have a minor question about the personal services for the Recreation Department. I noticed that's completely level funded. Is that the salaries of the people who work under the Recreational Department?
That is correct.
Right. Are those salaries not inflation adjusted?
It's just the director. I want to be clear. There's another position in that department that is funded through the revolving funds. The non-union position salaries, you won't see an increase because that is put into, the full increase is put into that salary reserve account. That's why it's level funded.
Okay, thank you.
Any more discussion under Human Services? There being no discussion, motion before you is to appropriate $1,208,338.19. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. We are on to the Public Works Department.
That the town raise and appropriate the sum of $8,355,600 for the Public Works Department budget from the tax levy as stated in the recommendation book. The sum of $107,000 be appropriated by transfer to the Public Works account from available sources, and that the sum of $8,248,601 be raised and appropriated from the tax levy as stated in the recommendation book. The staffing level of the department is consistent at 78, which also includes our water and sewer staff. Public Works is responsible for the care and maintenance of the cemetery, forestry, parks, water and sewer, highway, buildings, engineering, and the town's vehicle fleet. As I stated before, this winter, the DPW crews did an amazing job with snow operations. During my commute, I could tell where the town line was the second that I crossed it because I was on black pavement. This budget will ensure that the town maintain its most valuable physical assets.
Mr. Sullivan.
Finance Committee recommends favorable action.
Discussion under the DPW budget. There being no discussion, motion before you is to raise the amount of $8,355,600.01. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. We're on a roll. Public Works Enterprise Department. D, you are up.
That the town raise and appropriate the sum of $17,863.41 for the Public Works Enterprise Departments, and that the sum of $8,109,042.66 be appropriated from water receipts to the various water division accounts as stated in the recommendation book, and the sum of $9,753,998.34 be appropriated by transfer from the sewer receipts to the various sewer departments' budgets as stated in the recommendation book.
Is there a second? Second.
Since these divisions are enterprise funds, they are not part of the tax levy and are expected to be self-funding entities. The Water Department is charged with maintenance of our water infrastructure and providing our residents and businesses with safe drinking water. The water budget is $8,109,042.66. This increase is due to an increase in the MWRA assessment. Since we do not receive our final numbers until June, rates may increase or decrease. However, we feel confident that this budget is sufficient for fiscal year 2027. The sewer budget is $9,753,998.34. This increase is also due to an increase in the MWRA assessment. And while like the water rates, we won't know the true rates until June, we feel confident that this budget is sufficient for FY 2027. Thank you to DPW Director Joe Conway and his staff.
Jim?
The Finance Committee recommends favorable action.
Discussion under the Public Works Enterprise Department section of the budget. There being no discussion, the motion before you is to raise and appropriate $17,863.41. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. And now the school department. Superintendent Lyons.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Administrator Casey. Thank you, everyone, for being here this evening. That the town raise and appropriate the sum of $58,716,611 for the school department, and to provide, therefore, that the sum of $115,000 be appropriated by the transfer to the school department contractual services, bus transportation allocation from the offset receipts 2025 bus transportation user fees, and that the sum of $58,601,611 be raised and appropriated from the tax levy. The total recommendation for the school department is $58,716,611.
Is there a second?
Second.
Doug, you're up.
Thank you very much.
It's right here. Second line.
Thank you. I'll try to make my comments discreet and try to move through the slides I have. I have about 5 or 6 slides. And so we've been working at the budget for quite a bit of time. The timeline, we start work in the fall. We have our tri-board meeting. We list the challenges during that meeting. And an ongoing challenge that we've had is kind of the students and families that we've been turning away from Doyle pre-K services. The numbers range between 30 and 60 per year. That's been going on for the last 4 years. We spoke about challenges being increased costs to special education tuitions and transportation, the cost for honoring and renewing contracts. We've held monthly meetings with the Finance and Facilities Subcommittee to review cost drivers as well as monthly expenditures, along with doing facility updates on the construction of the new high school. During November and December, school principals build their budgets. It's very similar to a zero-based budget system. They review each position and make proposals for their schools and their school needs for FY27. During December and January, we collaborated with the School Finance Subcommittee on the new WMHS construction budget and schedule. The good news there is that we are on budget and right on schedule. So we're looking forward to moving into our new high school in January of next year. More to follow on that. Administrators have also been working with the legislative teams on circuit breaker reimbursements, along with Chapter 70 and the unrestricted government aid. During February to April, we've collaborated with the Finance Committee, our liaisons, on the spring budget workshop, and also on the upcoming school committee budget. The school committee unanimously adopted a level-funded budget this year. During April and May, there was a second tri-board meeting, and we genuinely appreciate the work of Liz Rourke, updating projections and accurately share the fiscal data along with the state of our system. So, looking ahead, budget drivers. It's not missed on us or anyone, the rising costs. Our salaries are increasing this year at 4.84%, with an overall, from FY26, we're increasing to $2.6 million increase for our 7 collective bargaining units. For technology, there's a $130,000 increase this year. Transportation, there's a $128,000 increase. Our out-of-district tuitions for special education has been really difficult for us. This year it's a $50,000 increase. The pass-through costs for both tuition and transportation are really just been rising at a rate that's been difficult for us to keep up with. Also, contracted services. Contractual services can relate to services that are provided to students that happen in school as well as outside of school for budget drivers. During the creation of our budget, we presented several options. When the principals and district leaders presented the FY27 budget, there was $600,000 in proposals that were rejected by the Finance and Facilities Subcommittee and the administration. We're also looking at, when we're wrestling now with this notion of a $300,000 cut that came to us really in the last 2.5 weeks, it's really going to have an impact on student services, and I'll talk more about that in the next few slides. We'd also like to emphasize the importance of continued investments in schools to preserve the gains that we've made. We also have to look forward to our building project, not only at the high school, but we have to look at the ADA requirements, heating and cooling at the Greenwood School, which there are some significant deficits there as well. So when we talk about revolving funds and supports for FY27, we're using revolving funds to offset or decrease the amount of our budget this year by $282,000. We've been asked to increase user fees, and we have. It's $50 per student per activity. The school committee vote also will vote in the spring to return $300,000 for benefits from food service. Revolving accounts have been reduced and have reduced the burden on the town by covering $1.1 million in expenses, including staff benefits, intervention programs for students, facilities work, and equipment. Absorbing reductions in entitlement grants, they're also covering an additional $65,000, excuse me. The total cuts and offsets that we've made to our budget in preparation for next year is $1.5 million. So the allocation that we are seeking this year is $58,601,611, which is an increase of 5.73. But please consider the expenses and additional cuts that we've shared. So when we get together as an administrative team, we get together with our Finance and Facilities Subcommittee, one of the things that we've talked about is where are we, what cuts can we make? We were discussing the request made by the Finance Committee. And I think one of our issues was that when we look at projections, one of the questions that we've asked is, can you please tell us more about revenue? And because the question is, can we talk about how much we're bringing in and how much will our deficit be? And I think this is where we're in different spaces. When we go to the Department of Revenue's site and we look at certified information, I don't see that slide. Ian, did you have that slide?
This was the ones, as far as I know, that you gave me.
Right. Didn't come through?
That was the deck that I gave.
Okay. So, I'm sorry, I'm short one slide. At the DOR website, you'll see, it's public information. But when, for example, we heard earlier this evening that there's $137,000 projected, or $27 million from Dan's slide. I believe it's slide 12 and slide 15. We talk about revenue in and what we're seeking to run the town and run the district. There's a gap there, right? When we look at the good work of Ed Dombrowski and the gains that are being made with investments, I think the struggle that we have in just kind of understanding where the shortfalls are, we just don't see it. It just doesn't project. I made a comment earlier about Liz Rourke's updated estimates, because Liz's updated estimates are more consistent with the Department of Revenue website and what is certified information. So if, for example, you look at 2025, that information is certified, it's a public number. Yeah, 2026 is not yet over yet, but the projection doesn't jive with the projections that we're sharing, that we're working on. I don't want it here's the slide. Yes, thank you so much. So this slide, you'll see in 2025, you'll see tax revenue at $95 million. The projection that we heard earlier this evening is $92 million for FY27. We brought that amount of money in 2025. There's just no correlation. And so we're struggling with this because we're trying to be really thoughtful partners in understanding what is the deficit and how can we do our part. And we've kind of this narrative that we've been working with year over year. This is my 11th budget, that the sky is falling, we're going to run out of free cash. Again, in FY27, it genuinely does not look like it's going to happen. FY28 and 29 are going to be really challenging budgets for us, but I believe that in 27, we are going to be okay based on the revenue projections, the updated projections that have been made by Liz, that also jive with the Department of Revenue. So that's it for my remarks. We appreciate your attention and thank you so much for your support.
Mr. Sullivan.
So the Finance Committee does not recommend favorable action. The Finance Committee has provided a budget that is $300,000 less. As you see in the book, it's $58,416,611, which does include $115,000 from available funds. So we do not recommend favorable action.
Any discussion on the motion for the school department?
Mr. Moderator, I'd like to speak to Dr. Lyons for 1 second, please. I have a couple questions for him.
You are?
Robert McLaughlin, 376 Water Street.
You have a question? Why don't you give me your question first, and then we'll decide who you can speak to. How we do it here, Bob? You've been here around a long time.
I've been here a couple times, but anyway, I was just curious about the basically the capacity of classrooms in town versus the enrollment in town.
Yes, sir.
The elementary schools.
Yes, sir. Our lower grades in pre-K to 2, we're pretty close to capacity. Students are never turned away, so the word capacity is a relative word. But our class sizes are hovering right around 23, 24 in those grades. As we go up from there, they become a little bit less.
As we know, the MBTA Community Act, that was passed, actually it was defeated at town meeting, and then it was brought back to town meeting and passed again, which is going to enlarge the capacity of certain areas in town.
Yep.
In regards to population, particularly children and apartments.
Yep.
And also, in addition to that, the accessory dwelling units that were passed, that was a mandate from the state, that could double up an awful lot of housing throughout single zones, family areas, because it's just, you could add a 900 square foot unit in somebody's front lawn or backyard, right, which is also going to increase the population in town. And, and there's just, and then all the apartments and the condos that have been going up, they're either in the pipeline or just online right now. And again, we've got a tremendous growth in this now, right now. So I guess my question is, are you guys planning on any additional temporary classrooms, additions to like the Dover School, permanent additions, new schools for the elementary population in town going forward?
One of the later articles this evening is to look at the Greenwood School. And so we will be doing a facility study there to assess kind of enrollment at that school. That's the only school that is on the town meeting bill tonight, but no other schools have been discussed to expand.
But in your discussions looking in the future, I'm going out 4 or 5 years, 10 years from now. Have you guys discussed about the population of Wakefield is really bulging?
When we built the new high school, we were required to do a 10-year look ahead. So we've done kind of an enrollment study out a decade now. And so I think we've taken a pretty good look at it. It doesn't always take into account new growth. There's 486 units coming online at the head of the lake. There's additional units in the queue. So we believe, Bob, that those units or those developments are most impacting right now pre-K through 2.
Exactly, and that's my point. So I still think that we're going to have a problem down the road. I brought that up at the high school when we went through that town meeting for the new high school. I said it right now, I think we're going to be looking at another elementary school, or at least additions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Kim Hackett, 21 Summer Street. I'd like to know if this
I don't know what's
budget,
going on over here, but it's getting to be distracted. Let it go for a while, so.
if this reduction in the school budget passes, what positions will be cut?
That's a great question. I do believe, we know it's going to affect services. We haven't kind of worked out a plan in terms of exactly what level would be impacted. We would likely look at unfilled positions, and then we would likely look after unfilled positions, we would look at faculty and staff that are new to the district would be our next kind of look, next level.
Correct, because they're not They don't have their professional status, and that's understandable. So, the finance committee, do they have an idea of what positions they would cut, since they want to take $300,000 away from the school budget, where if you've been in a classroom lately, the needs of the children are immense. The mental health, the emotional instability, the dysregulation, not just speaking for even general ed kids, not just special ed kids, has increased so much that to take $300,000 away from the school budget at this point in time with the needs that our students have in this community is disgusting. We need that money to continue the level of service that we have, which still isn't what we should have for the needs that all of our students have. And so I reject the finance committee's, whatever you say, to reduce your budget, because we need all the money we can get in order to keep the students safe, to have staff safe, and to keep everything that we have in this community going forward. That's, sorry, unfathomable to take that much money away. And that's not even a lot of money, but I disagree. We need that money for our school budget. Thank you.
Next. Once again, you are a legislative body. Have a little respect for yourself. This is not a pep rally, okay? Thank you very much for respecting that. Okay, next up.
Hi, Marie Oliveira. I live at 3 Bennett Street. And to piggyback on what was just said, I'm curious as to the number of administrators versus the number of teachers actually. Do you have a ratio? Do you have a percentage?
That's a great question. Out of the 600, we have 360 teachers, and I want to say we probably have 30 administrators. I can get you that exact number, Marie.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if that's all you have by way of administrators.
Okay.
But if anybody has to go as a result of this, the teachers have to stay, the people that provide services have to stay, and it's the administration that needs to be cut. Because I think historically, schools are becoming more and more administrative top-heavy as opposed to the people who are actually providing the services. So thank you.
Before we get to the next speaker, I just want to point out, your vote only counts if you're seated, so I want to give you folks an opportunity to sit down before we get to this vote, okay? Thank you. Madam Clerk has pointed that out to me. She controls the vote. You're up next.
William Turner, live at 4 Windberg Road. We just have a quick question. For the past 12 years, the Ewell School was used, was privately run for special needs. Now it's completely empty. So was that money that was being used for private use going to the school system? And right now it's completely empty. And you're saying you're sending kids away.
Yeah.
Is the school the school system thinking about using that to alleviate the stretching out of our schools?
So the Ewell is currently being leased by the town, not the school system. It's currently being leased by the town to Seam Collaborative as a school. So it's currently being used. Have we looked at Ewell and thought about Ewell in regard to space, for example, with pre-K, or if we need to do an addition renovation in 10 years to Greenwood? We have. And so I think that we're looking at every option and opportunity that we have in our town. But that building is not controlled by the school system. It is leased currently to Seam Collaborative, and the revenue from that goes back to the town, which indirectly helps us, goes to the W.
Thank you.
Of course.
Dan Sherman, 16 High Street. One of the things that the superintendent brought up was this DOR chart. This on the screen a few minutes ago.
Hey, Dan.
How's that, better?
Yeah, that's better.
Great. So that DOR website and the chart that the superintendent brought up was brought up at Finance Committee 2 or 3 months ago. And it was examined by us, and one of our members of our Finance Committee, Ed Bean, happens to be the CFO he looked at this as well and said, well, that chart is nothing but estimates for tax revenue and includes other stuff. What really matters is Schedule A, which I shared with Mr. Lyons. It said, this is our real revenue that we received in 25, not what was showing on that particular chart. So my question in terms of revenue is, I've given this by my estimate of total revenue in our shortfall at roughly either $2 million or $2.3 million, depending upon the outcome of this particular motion. What I've never heard, and I'd love to hear right now, is from the administration, either Dee or Liz, what is your projection of the shortfall for fiscal year 27, given the budgets that we're looking at tonight?
Which of you wants to field Mr. Sherman's request?
So can I answer about the chart that we used? So we were in touch with the Department of Revenue. The 25 numbers are certified numbers. Those numbers were certified by Kevin Gill and Steve Mayo. The 26 numbers were not through 26, so those numbers are not, those are just projections. But just to be clear, just to be clear, the town is seeking to run the town $137 million this evening, right? And so that was not in any projection that you shared.
I'm just saying, based on Schedule A, the numbers do not jive with that chart. In Schedule A, which is filed with the DOR,
but they do jive with Liz's projections.
Well,
so either we're, the Department of Revenue's off, Liz is off, I'm off, Kevin Gill's off, Steve Mayo's off.
I'm talking about
it's a big jump.
I'm talking about 25. 25 is done. It's in the books. There's Schedule A. It's on the DOR website. Take a look at that.
Okay.
But regardless of that, my question remains for Dee and Liz.
So we are projecting a $1.7 million deficit.
Okay. Is that with the school reduction or without?
Dee, follow-up question.
Without.
Thank you. 1.7, and I've got 2. Not a huge difference. Thank you very much.
Hi, Christopher Bossi, 89 Road. So I think I've got a question, and then I'll express my opinion. So just a question on the procedure of this vote. So we vote on the motion made by the school committee that includes the $300,000, and then if that fails, that's when we talk about the finance committee's alternate.
That fails, that fails.
Okay, but we're voting on the school committee, which includes the $300,000. Is that correct? Is that correct?
Yeah, we're voting on the school committee's motion right now.
Okay. All right. So, in my opinion, that's 300,000, 20,000 registered voters in this town. Only 10% of them showed up for the elections last week. That's $15 a person, approximately. You know, it varies with property tax burden, but that's the average. You send a bid around for my $15, I'll put the $15 in. I don't think that $15 per person is worth questioning the judgment of the school committee. We're in favor of the slide.
Eleanor Axelrod, Shepherd Road. I had a question. Looking at the difference between the finance committee recommendation and the school committee, it looks like there's a 5% increase in budget overall recommended by the finance committee. And the difference in the $300,000 is related to contractual services, which would be a less than 0.5% reduction, difference between the two proposed budgets. My question is, on the contractual services and material supplies, what is the difference in what you're going to do with contractual services versus what the finance committee has recommended? Because it seems like that's sort of where the difference is. Thank you.
Thank you for the feedback. I don't believe the FinCom is dictating where the $300,000 comes from. I can believe that they're looking to reduce the school department budget by $300,000.
But it's a 5% increase. Their lower number is a 5% increase over prior year. Correct.
Thank you.
Kathy Shine Payne, 33 Elm Street. I think the emotional argument made by the first speaker is very, very persuasive. We know that the needs of our students, particularly since COVID, are profound. I am even more persuaded, though, by your presentation, the deliberations over the course of a year, dealing with the weeds. I can't get into the weeds, but the deliberations that took place, the communication with the FinCom that took place over the course of a year, I find very persuasive. And I am someone, as a senior citizen, who has to be terribly concerned about my tax dollars. But I will repeat, I find it persuasive, and I would urge everyone here to put their faith, I'm not going to use the word faith, excuse me, to listen to the school committee and the school administration, those who understand best the needs of our students, the needs of our schools, and just how much we need to allocate.
Hi, Kevin Harrington. I'm a Reading resident and a WPS employee. I first wanted to highlight the emotional appeals that have been raised.
Okay, you live in Reading?
Yes, sir.
But your connection is what?
I'm a paraprofessional at WNHS.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to allow him to speak.
So moved.
Second, all discussion. There be no discussion, you're up.
I just wanted to highlight one of the committee's statements about possible future implications on pre-licensed employees, especially paraprofessionals and those involved in special education. I'm a current paraprofessional working towards a career in teaching. I was brought in last September in quite the rush, which was something that I noticed. It really alarmed me, the rate at which the needs of the district in terms of hiring in special education. I work in classrooms where an increasing number of students are receiving individualized education programs. And I wanted to hear what the committee has to say about supplanting these increasing classroom demands and patterns of inflation with a budget that will inevitably leave classrooms understaffed, students with special ed needs not receiving adequate considerations or support, classrooms that should be co-taught not being co-taught, and so many other things that have direct implications on my job and my role within the Wakefield community.
The committee you're referring to is the FinCom, Finance Committee?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Sullivan, can you answer that? Could you repeat the question? Not quite as long. Try and get to it, okay?
So I work in special education, and I just wanted to know what the Finance Committee has to say regarding supplanting these increasing classroom demands and the like with a budget that is inevitably going to leave classrooms understaffed, that's going to ultimately make my job harder and the lives harder of so many of the teachers within the district.
Very good. First of all, the Finance Committee is recommending a reduction. It would be up to the school committee to decide how to distribute that reduction if it was so voted on tonight. I will say, just repeating what was in the presentation by Dan Sherman, we're proposing a $3 million overall reduction, which includes $300,000 for the schools. We're not proposing that because we have plenty of money. We're proposing that because we're very concerned with how the year is going to end up, and the use of free cash would be excessive. So we have a $3 million proposal. All of it has already been approved except for $300,000 for the schools. I have full faith in the school committee that if you voted $300,000, they would do everything in their power not to harm children first. Thank you.
Charles Lowe's, 15 Lawrence Street. I have a question also for FinCom. So, and Mr. Sherman, you guys were very concerned about actual numbers, and you have basically given approvals for all these other budgets, but those budgets aren't confirmed because they're still under contract. So they're not real numbers, they're hypothetical numbers. But yet we're talking about numbers in the school department, and you immediately, for the last how many years, have said you're not supporting those numbers. I'm curious as to why that is when the school department numbers are pretty accurate and pretty fixed, when the other departments that you've given the thumbs up to are not.
Mr. Sullivan, can you answer that?
I will try. We worked with town council and other town departments, and there was agreement to make those changes. We worked with school committee, the school committee deliberated and elected not to make those changes. Brings it to the floor, because the school committee has the ability and right to bring that to the floor for this body to vote on. Does that answer your question?
So we're okay using not real numbers for the other budgets, but these have to be?
So all the other budgets in the book have been cut by the numbers that Mr. Sherman showed on his slide. Those are new numbers reduced from original numbers.
And do those include the increase when these contracts are agreed upon?
There is a line item in the overall budget, the overall budget book, that has money carried for potential union negotiations and CBA agreements.
But how do you come up with that number, just out of curiosity? Because obviously the number's not confirmed, or else it would be agreed upon.
Town administration comes up with that number. Say they come up with a number that was X, and they don't need to use all of X. Then some of that X would be returned to the general fund at the end of the year.
And if it was over, like most likely will be, that
That'd be
pre-spend money that then work.
Then they'd have to come back for additional money through the finance committee or to this body.
Hello, Kevin Fontanella, 11 Emerald Street, Chair of the Wakefield School Committee. First of all, I want to thank all the people that came out here tonight to congregate and vote on a very important topic. I want to speak about a few things, a lot of which have been brought up by Dr. Lyons in his presentation. One, the school committee is very aware that the fiscal environment in the state of Massachusetts, not just in Wakefield, but all across our Commonwealth, is very difficult. Dan Sherman was correct when he said that there are a lot of communities around us that are undergoing some very, very tough decisions, especially in the educational space. One thing that I want to say is that this is a level service budget, which means that we are providing next year with this budget the exact level of education that we provided this past year. The superintendent received requests from building administrators across our town for about $600,000 worth of programs, staff, that would help improve educational services in Wakefield. We denied those $600,000. Why did we do this? We want to build more educational services. We want as good of an educational system as we can. We rejected those $600,000 because we understand the fiscal environment that we are in. We are not profligate spenders on the school committee. Okay, so I just want everyone to be aware of that. Okay, we are very focused on creating a level service budget when this was drafted. The second thing I want to bring up is we have done things like increased user fees, which I was personally against, but the school committee voted for, to increase user fees by $50 for each of our programs. We've given back $282,000 from our revolving accounts, which technically we're not necessarily legally required to do, but we're doing it to help offset the cost for the town. So again, I just want to reiterate that the school committee understands the fiscal environment, but let's face it, you elected us here for one job. Our job is to pass a budget that is going to create an excellent educational system. That's why we're here. That's what this whole game is. This past fall, the school system of Wakefield received public recognition from the state of Massachusetts. We are one of the only public school systems in eastern Massachusetts that achieved pre-COVID MCAS scores from 2019 to now. Now that does not mean we have MCAS scores of Lexington, of Wellesley, of Newton. What it does say is that we have achieved a higher rate of academic growth in the last 5 years than all of those towns, including the ones I just said. We are doing a good job. We have increased academic outcomes. I'm not even going to talk about all of the other programs we talk about all the time in school today. I am asking the citizens of Wakefield that are in this room to please support our budget. It is responsible, it is a level service budget, and we need to keep the gains that we have already accomplished, and we need to keep them going if we're not going to fall back. Thank you.
Daniel Lieber, 1 Elm Street. This is a really tough budget and a really tough question. I'm a father of 2 children who've been through Wakefield Public Schools. I see many students here, I see many fellow parents here. I also realize we are in an incredibly tough situation. The Finance Committee, Mr. Sherman has been warning us for the last several years that we are on the edge of a cliff, that we are now falling off. This year, our budget is underwater. We're literally taking money from the retirees' accounts. This is what has been recommended. We are literally taking money from the retirees to balance a 1-year budget. We're at the risk, in a couple of years, if this continues, of effectively having no free cash. Does that mean that the town is going to dry up? No. It does mean we are in a situation where we have to do less with less. It pains me to say that. It really does. There's a lot of words that are inappropriate for town meetings that I would love to use to describe the situation. The state aid that we should be getting, we're not. We don't have it. We can only spend the money that we actually have. And this isn't whether it comes from a particular website, it's a matter of what's actually coming into the bank. And this pain is going to realistically be felt by all of us. We're going to see minor reductions in services because ultimately we're trying to do as much as we can. The various departments have taken small budget deficits already. That's what was explained by the Finance Committee. The school department has acknowledged that they have already rejected service cuts. They've rejected service increases. They've rejected services that are needed by our students. There's no question that they're needed. None of this is optional. None of this is stuff that is just, we want to do more for the sake of doing more because it's a great thing to do. We don't have the cash. We don't have the money. When the money comes, I'm all in favor of giving it to the schools, giving it to the departments as we need to do. But in our current situation, for fiscal year 2027, which is what we're here for, we don't have the money. Am I going to say where that money should come from? I'd love to say someone else. That's the answer that, well, having been elected by my fellow townspeople, by all of us, to be on the school committee, I've had to make really hard decisions. The very first vote I took when I was elected to the school committee was to reduce teaching positions, to reduce librarians. It pained me. but we didn't have the cash. And it was either that or reduce classrooms. I don't know what the school committee with the administration will determine is the best way to reduce $300,000 in cost. That's a lot of money. It's several positions. But I'm fully confident it can be found with minimal impact to our students, not no impact, minimal impact to our students, and still leave us with a school system we are proud of. A school system which will put out students that are really excellent people in our society. And it will be within a budget for next year. And then in fiscal year 27, we're going to have more hard choices. Or fiscal year 28 and 29, we're going to have more hard choices. But for fiscal year 27, what is being requested by the Finance Committee, which is a nominal reduction. It's still a reduction. Make no mistake about it. But this reduction is unfortunately necessary. And so I actually urge that we vote this particular budget, voted down, and then we will have the opportunity to take up another motion based on the Finance Committee's recommendation that will provide not necessarily a level services budget, but really, really close. Thank you.
Paul Buckley, 34 Keelan Road. I feel as a voter, I'm confused by the difference in these revenue numbers. As an observer of town government, some better than me, I'm sure, it seemed as if everything was going pretty well during the overall budgeting process. Everybody was getting along, everybody was sharing information. We were going pretty well, if reports in the Wakefield Daily are not to be believed. We get here tonight, and I'm not sure we probably are facing some sort of value judgment here tonight, but I'm confused as to why we walk in here tonight and there is this perhaps last minute, please correct me when I ask my question, but it feels like this is a last minute difference of opinion between how much money is actually available. On the one hand, we have somebody saying, Finance Committee, Town Council, whomever saying, let's put the brakes on, we've got to cut these budgets, and here's the math. And here's the background, here's the history. It seems as if the school committee, through you, Dr. Lyons, perhaps, has come in and said, wait a minute, I disagree with the fundamental revenue numbers. I'm not sure we all want to look at the PowerPoints and debate them, but that to me seems to be the fundamental issue. Why, at what I would say is the 11th hour, you, Dr. Lyons, challenging the revenue projections of the Finance Committee. I just need it pretty well explained to me. Because that's the premise, I believe, of your argument, that there's more money available than perhaps we're being told, and therefore we shouldn't cut the budget. I need clarification from either you, Dr. Lyons, or the chairman of the Finance Committee. Why this last minute rub? And if I can put a sharp point on it, why should this body believe the numbers of the school committee versus the numbers of the finance committee?
Can you answer that in 15 seconds, and you get 15 seconds?
The numbers that I was referring to earlier are the Department of Revenue numbers, not the school committee numbers. Those numbers also jive with Liz Rourke's new projections. So these are not kind of numbers that are created out of thin air. These are numbers that are actuals. So there is a disagreement in the
14,
forecast.
15 seconds. It's all fair.
The school committee had brought this information to us, and we went over it with them. and we do not disagree with the numbers. We disagree with the numbers that are being referred to by the school committee. We made that clear to them sometime prior to the meeting today. We have forecasted year in and year out, revenue in, expenditures out. We are very confident in our numbers.
Thank you. Just in under the wire.
Good evening. I'm Tom Markham, 281 Water Street, member of the school committee and chair of the school committee's finance subcommittee. I stand in support of the school department's proposed fiscal 27 budget request and urge town meeting members to do the same. Before I speak to that, I would like to take a brief second to wish our teachers and educators a much-deserved, wonderful teacher appreciation week, which starts today. I also would like to make note of respecting and appreciating all the work of the finance committee, our finance committee liaisons and partners, and certainly Dan Sherman's work over the years. But I'd like to talk about process as well as the information that's being shared about impact. After months of planning and public discussion, meetings with school leaders and staff, parents, town administration, and finance committee representatives, and a public hearing, a number of school committee meetings, the school committee voted a level service budget this year. As the chair of the school committee mentioned a moment ago, level service budget providing the same types and levels of services in fiscal 26 and this year as we're providing next year. These were challenging, our reductions were made, as you've heard about from the superintendent, that were asked of us that we rejected. We have no new positions, we have no new untried initiatives, we have no major new projects. Being mindful of limited resources and appreciative of the taxpayers and the new high school that's coming online, a level service budget was presented, voted unanimously by the school committee, and that's what you're being asked to consider this evening. Unfortunately, on April 23rd, about a week and a half before town meeting, the town finance committee recommended to underfund the schools by $300,000. In addition to this being a dramatic cut to student services and staff, my equal concerns are the process, as I noted. The coordination and measure of information shared, especially, frankly, relatively late in the process. Tonight, we've heard, just moments ago and throughout the meeting, a variety of views about town revenues over the past few years, both those that have been projected and those that are actual. We've heard appropriate caution about the future from the finance committee. We've heard that the town has available resources to afford fiscal 27 and the school and town proposal, but the FinCom is raising caution about the future as its responsibility to do so. The school committee over the years has responded with budget cuts, revisions, and funding resources whenever asked, and we should do so again, but with a direction and not confusion. We all need an eye on education services that are expected and those that are required. We need to be prepared and armed with clear information and resources. The town and schools certainly need to live within our means, but we need to model and live within our values too. In my opinion, the school committee and all town boards need to take heed of the finance committee's caution and design a strategic approach to fiscal 28 and beyond, budgeting by making reductions and adjustments with a planning window of 11 months and not 11 days. On April 29th, last week, the school committee doubled down and supported the prior unanimous vote and asked for the support of townspeople for its educationally sound, affordable, and level service budget. And I urge you to vote in favor of the motion that is before you. Thank you.
Main Street. I think ordinarily when sort of faced with any sort of very large budget and one is getting 99.5% of their ask, you could find a way to make it work. With that being said, again, the economist on the other hand, I do think, and as a point of clarification, Liz, you were 1.7 million as the deficit without cutting the school budget, right? So just for everybody's sake, so that means there's a $600,000 gap between the assumptions of the town budget with the school budget spending. So I think Dan's number is 2 million with no cuts to the town. So there's a $600,000 gap. The other thing I want to say is everybody's speaking about the degree of confidence in their numbers. That's just ridiculous. It just ends up not being true. $300,000 is something we end up being off all the time on. We have any number of times over the past 5 years looked out ahead and seen that, like, oh, we are going to be in a major deficit in fiscal year 27, fiscal year 28, fiscal year 29. Okay, we're going to be in a deficit next year. The other thing I would say to everyone around the school committee budget is a big function of the difference in the personnel spending this year for the rest of the town versus the school. The teachers are in the last year of the big post-inflation, post-everything else budgets that were done 2.5 to 3 years ago. So this is the last big hit. Well, maybe the last big hit. Let the teachers union know. This is the last big hit that you're going to face in sort of that education personnel expense that is not comparable on the other side. I think, and the other thing is we do have, I know we're spending in the deficit now. I think we have the room either way. I was very much, by the way, this morning I woke up, I wasn't sure which way I'd go on this. In this instance, as much as it hurts me to betray my finance committee brethren, but I would vote with the school committee on this with the understanding that next year it's going to be much, much tougher.
James Cerrone, 33 Oak Street. I think that context is important here. I would echo what Dan Weaver said about this being a value judgment. However, I think the context that we're facing is we're post-COVID. And we're dealing with a generation that is the COVID generation. And we're going to be dealing with that for a long time. So I think we need to consider the time that we're choosing to, or the finance committee is electing to choose to have this, $300,000 reduction. As the school committee has said, they're proposing a level service, and level services really aren't even enough to help these kids. Every generation has their kids these days complaints, but kids these days are really struggling. A lot of it is this post-COVID fallout. And I think it's important that we recognize that and recognize that we really shouldn't be having these reductions during this time. And I would also echo what Chris Ribasi said, that we have to really internalize what that $300,000 is. It's basically a moderately priced meal, unfortunately, these days. $15, about $15 per person, per taxpayer. So I think the context is important.
Scott McCauley, 32 Walnut Road. I heard that the school committee budget was going to be over tonight, and so I started looking at some numbers, and I recall from several years back, there was a budget that came in that was over, and the finance committee was not happy about it. And there was an agreement made that we would pass that budget if the school did not come back the next year or the year after with a bigger budget, and then that all went over the window. So it seems like year after year, he's eking up. All the other departments in town did what they were asked to do and came in at or under the budget, except for the school committee. I understand there's a lot of services that are paid out, a lot of teachers involved. There's also a lot of administrators in here. And the first thing I think about teachers are going to get cut, the teachers, the service is going to get cut. We need to look at the administrative part of the school system. This whole entire budget, my understanding, is created and comes out of the Finance and Facilities Subcommittee meeting. Last year, in trying to find meeting minutes for that particular group, which meets on a Friday at 8 a.m. in the superintendent's conference room, which in 2013, the Attorney General's office said that was not an appropriate place to meet. They do not have Zoom, so there are no recordings. I reached out for information to get meeting minutes, and I got nothing. I filed a meeting law complaints for meeting minutes with the school committee. The Attorney General's office ruled in my favor, so much so that it required the entire school committee to take a mandatory state meeting, to take this mandatory meeting, and I still today haven't received all the meetings. So there is no way to actually know what transpires in this meeting without having meeting minutes. Now, some of the meeting minutes came back. They were basically a modified version of the agenda, which lacks sufficiently anything to understand what's talked about. No information, no numbers, no nothing. So this is what comes out of the Finance and Facilities Subcommittee of the school committee, who works with the school department at 8 a.m. on Friday mornings with no Zoom meetings, no recordings, and no meeting minutes. And this is the budget that we have now. So I have a lot of doubts about all these numbers. The DPW is 3 pages, all single space, and it's $8 million or so. And we have, the school budget is $58 million, and it's like triple space. There's no information there. So $300,000 $58 million budget is not really a lot, but it's more than it's a moment. And I think that we really need to look at the administrative costs that we have and really cut back on some of that to bring these numbers in line. Because as Mr. Sherman puts himself out there each year, and he gets a lot of criticism for it, but he's correct. I mean, we're facing a 2.5 override in a couple of years if we don't get these numbers in line. And we need to start today. We can't just keep kicking the can down the road. Thank you.
Ellie Richard, 5 Wakefield Wall Street. Hi, I'm currently a senior at WMHS, and I've been a student of the Wakefield Public Schools.
Whoa, are you a registered voter?
Yes, I am. I voted in the last election.
Okay, just check. It's kind of like checking your ID. You might have a fake ID to speak or something, you know. Okay, sorry, just checking.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, hi. Like I said, I'm currently a senior at WMHS, and I've been a student of the Wakefield Public School System my entire academic career. With that as my experience, I truly believe in the positive impact of our education system, as I've seen and benefited from it firsthand. I'm here to express my support for the school committee budget, and I hope that my fellow citizens will recognize how crucial the full budget of our schools is for the functionality of those systems which buoy and support our students and subsequently our town's future. Thank you.
Kim Hackett again, 21 Summer Street. The cuts.
2 minutes.
You got it.
Okay.
The $300,000 cuts, as the FinCom recommends, so be it, but that cut will impact student-facing positions, not administrator positions. And if we cut student-facing positions, then that will increase along the years our out-of-district money that we spend already, which is $350,000. So that $300,000 that they want to cut will just go into out-of-district, because if you cut student-facing positions, then you're going to have kids that don't get services or have the needs that they be met, and they will end up going out of district.
Are you in line? Are you in line? Yes, sir. And whoa. And are you in line? Excuse me. Yeah. If you haven't gone, you get to go. Is this your second time? Is this your first time or second time? First. There you go. Okay.
Sharon Bailey, 57 Prospect Street. I have one comment and one question. I do not think there is a chance that we are going to pass another struggling with this problem for years. And if we could possibly get a handle on it now, we might be well advised to do that. Second, I need a better understanding of how reduction in free cash and the likelihood of running a deficit affects the interest rate that we would pay on our borrowing at all.
Jim, do you want that or you want Dan to take that?
Dan can take that.
Mr. Sherman, you're close to the mic.
So, to that question, we had a AAA bond rating until recently. Standard & Poor's came out and said, we don't like the 10% policy, we think you ought to have 15%. And so we said, which I think is crazy, by the way, I think 10% is fine. But what happens if we lost from AAA down to AA plus on our bond rating? Most of the bonds for the high school were written as a AAA. The last one was a AA plus. And what that meant was probably around a 25 basis points or 0.25% increase in the interest that we have to pay on those bonds to the bondholders. If we drop down to AA, which is a possibility, then it's another 0.5% loss, and that makes our bill for the new high school that much higher when we start losing our rating going from AAA to AA plus and so forth. So that's,
Thank
did
you.
that answer your question?
Thank you. Thank you. All right. 2 minutes. You're up next. 2 minutes.
Hi, Christopher Bossi again. Just a couple things I want to say real quick. First of all, one of the members of the Finance Committee earlier referring to the deficit that we would have to run out of free cash if we passed the school committee's budget, said that that's money we're taking out of the hands of retirees. I would like to challenge specifically that assertion because the free cash is under the management of the town in general, and when free cash is necessary, it's appropriated for any number of purposes to go to that are determined by and for the well-being of all members of this town, not just the retirees. And so I just do think that ought to be kept in mind, especially since it is, it's literally the children of the future. It's trite, but it's trite because it's true. And the other point I would like to raise is one of the speakers earlier mentioned the fear of a Prop 2.5 override and her uncertainty that we could pass such a thing in this town. I would honestly approach that from the other end. Inflation often goes above 2.5 percentage points. At some point, as multiple speakers have referenced here tonight, if we are going to actually not just have a level service budget, but actually meet needs as they come up, we are going to have to go over that level. And so when the time comes for a levy and they say you have to go to the voters, I just say why the levy inevitable if really that 300,000 is going to put us over the edge. Although I haven't had anything to say if that was, so I still support going with the school committee's budget. Thank you.
Your first point, you were looking for clarification. Is that it?
Yes, although I was fairly confident.
You
If
clarify
someone
that
has a
briefly?
statement about the use of free cash that proves me wrong, I don't care.
All right. Briefly.
What we spoke about earlier was the use of free cash to balance the budget. And in laying out how we were going to use the free cash or how much free cash, we were taking money from the OPEB, which is a trust fund, and using money to help pay for retirees' medical expenses in lieu of the budget itself covering that.
Okay, so I believe the property tax levy, that's determined at the November town meeting, right?
It's the property tax levy, that's when you set that. That's in the fall, correct?
You've got 20 seconds, okay?
Okay, so long story short, I do see your point about retirees now, but essentially, we can use that free cash now and then make it up out of the levy in November, and the trust fund's not going to run dry, so I would still vote yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, a couple clarifications.
2 minutes.
The fact that Liz's number of 1.7 million shortfall, my 2.2 million is $600,000. We consider $137 million as the total.
$600,000 is a drop in the bucket. And things that we don't know, reason that we have differences, and I have to sit down with Liz to figure out exactly where. We don't know what our new growth figures could be. I'm using 1.3 million, Liz is using probably a different number. On local receipts, I'm using 12.3 million based on the conversation that our treasurer had with town council a week ago. I had a higher figure of almost $1 million higher, but after that conversation, I dropped it down. Even Liz didn't drop it down as much as I had. We don't know about the state, the amount of state aid. They still haven't given us a final budget. So the fact that we're different by $600,000 is really no surprise. One of the reasons the Finance Committee, and I pushed for this, is to get it down to around a $2 million shortfall, is because history shows us that we estimate our revenue and it's always different. You know, I'm an actuary. I go to pension plans and I tell these people, January 1st, these are exactly their numbers. On January 2nd, they're wrong because we have assumptions and those assumptions don't hold up. So the other point I want to make is on the OPEB trust fund, as I said before, we had 48 million.
30 seconds.
40 million 5. In the future, in my forecast I gave you at the beginning of this meeting, I'm pouring $1.5 million every single year to try to get us within a decent forecast of having enough revenue over expenses. So it's not a one-shot. This is in perpetuity. We have to pull at least $1.5 million in order to balance our budget going forward. So just
thank you, Mr. Sherman.
You're welcome.
This your first time?
This is my first time. I'm Karina Noyes from Old Lamont Road. And we've heard some excellent debate here tonight, a lot of really good questions and really thoughtful considerations. And I'm wondering if we can now call the vote.
Well, look, so you're going to make a motion to move the question, which require 2/3 and counters. You're the last person. So maybe you want to consider, nobody else is up. So maybe you want to not do that. Just a thought. I know you're trying to influence. I hate to try and influence, but you know, think about it. Yeah, you want us to vote, right? You don't want a motion to move the question, do you? Say no.
I don't understand Massachusetts politics.
That's going to take more than 2 minutes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. No, you don't. There's no question on the floor. No, you're done. Sorry.
As a citizen,
No, you want to talk as a citizen? You've been talking. What could possibly not have been answered?
I'll be the judges.
Okay. Not right now, though. All right. The motion before you. Oh, right. We're still on the school department. The motion before you is to appropriate $716,611. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries, right? Yeah. Let's do it again one more time, just to be sure. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Okay. All right. I'll let the door hit you on the way out. All right. And be quiet on the way out. Please. All right. And now the library. Quiet, please. A little respect.
That the town raise and appropriate the sum of $2,147,295 for the BB Library budget, and provide therefore that the sum of $54,078 be appropriated by transfer to the library materials and supplies from the Library Trust Fund, and the sum of $2,093,217 from the tax levy as stated in the recommendations book.
Second? Second. D, you're up.
The library budget request is $2,147,295. I am pleased to report that this budget continues to meet the state standards for library operating hours for fiscal year 2027 will remain the same as fiscal 2026. Unlike some towns across the Commonwealth, there will be no reductions in hours, staff, or the amazing programming held by the staff at the BB. Thank you to Catherine McDonald and her staff for the outstanding programs and offerings at the library. It is truly a gem in this community.
Any discussion? Oh, FinCom. Yeah, hey, now you go. Now you get up as FinCom member, not a citizen.
Finance Committee recommends favorable action.
Any discussion? The motion before you is that the rate this meeting raise and appropriate $2,147,295 for the library. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Vote the vote.
That the town raise and appropriate the sum of $397,071 for the vocational high school budget from the tax levy as stated in the recommendation book.
Is there a second? D.
The vocational school budget request is $397,071. This budget is based on 103 students at the Northeast Metro Tech. There are no students at the Minuteman Regional in Lexington, and 9 students at Essex Tech in Danvers. Wakefield's portion includes $660,237 for the construction of the new high school. The annual cost of the construction of the school will be incorporated into Assistant Town Administrator Rourke's forecasting model, which you will see presented at next year's annual town meeting. I will note that this budget is built upon state fully funding Chapter 70 in school transportation funding. Thank you to Dr. DeBerry of Northeast, Superintendent Heidi Driscoll of the Minuteman, and Dr. Heidi Riccio of Essex Tech and their staffs for the services that they provide their students and their families.
Mr. Sullivan.
Finance Committee recommends favorable action.
Any discussion on the funding of the vote? There being no discussion, the motion before you is that we appropriate $3,097,071. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Unclassified.
That the town raise and appropriate the sum of $2,874,350.13 for the unclassified budget, with $2,409,350.13 from the tax levy and $465,000 from available funds as stated in the recommendation book.
For second. Second. D.
The increase in general insurance is a result of the general increase in insurance costs. The Medicare is a tax, it's a percentage of employee wages for any employees hired after April 1st, 1986. So as wages rise, this budget will also increase. The unemployment insurance part of the budget is divided into $50,000 for the school department and $25,000 for the municipal departments. The Finance Committee Reserve Fund is level funded at $400,000. Revenue for WCAT continues to decrease annually as more residents are preferring streaming services to your traditional cable programming. This is an important communication tool for this community, and we will continue to have discussions on how to keep this vital service to the community. Thank you to Ian McDermott and his staff. The other budgets are level funded with increases due to contractual and negotiated items.
Jim.
Finance Committee recommends favorable action.
Discussion under unclassified. There being no discussion, the motion before you is to appropriate $2,874,350.13. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Benefits and administration.
That the town raise and appropriate the sum of $21,993,976 for the benefits and administrative budget, with $20,493,976 from the tax levy and $1.5 million from the OPEB trust fund, as stated in the recommendation book.
Is your, let me just double check this. Is your total 137 million? No, what's that? Oh, that's the bot. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. So you're 21,993, 978?
Correct.
Okay, sorry.
976.
Okay, 976, yeah. Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
The FY 2027 budget for benefits and administration is $21,993,976. The elimination of the personal services part of this budget reflects moving the human resources operation into its own budget. The professional medical budget request is $11,500, which is level funded. Bless you. This budget pays for the medical exams of new hires, and if we need to conduct a fitness for duty exam for an employee returning for a medical leave. The workers' compensation budget request is $431,417 for a decrease of 25.8%. This is a result of our improved claims experience with the negative claims years now dropping off our trend. We will closely monitor this budget and plan to increase employee safety programs to avoid employee accidents. The request for the retirement system is $7,378,195 from the tax levy. This is a 6.42 increase over FY 2026. Like workers' comp, the retirement system assessment is a function of payroll and reflects contractual and negotiated increases. The town established an amortization schedule in 1988 and updates that schedule every 2 years. The actuarial pension liability is $234,845,019, with an unfunded liability of $61,380,809. This account is 74% funded, which is light years above other cities and towns. If you watch the news, you know that in many other cities and towns across the Commonwealth, health insurance continues to be a budget driver. The town's decision to enter into the Group Insurance Commission, or the GIC, with its Public Employee Committee, or the PEC, was a wise decision, as annual increases in the GIC trend much lower than in other health insurance plans. However, the GIC is not immune to the ballooning cost of health insurance, which dictate our premium rates. This year, the increase was $991,835, which was 7.5 increase over FY 26. It is likely that this trend will continue into FY 2028. The Group Insurance Commission will be going out to bid in FY 2028, so it is our hope that the commissioners will make some hard plan design decisions and entertain high deductible plans to give municipalities a way to curb this massive impact of rising health insurance costs and the impact it has on overall town and school budgets. This year, the very difficult decision was made to not contribute to OPEB and transfer $1.5 million from the OPEB trust fund to pay for a portion of the retiree health insurance. This is an allowable action under Mass General Law. While the town earns approximately $2.16 million on investment revenue on the $40,352,705 balance that we have in that fund, this is not a sustainable action. There must be decisions going forward as to how to return to depositing into the fund and not using it to balance the operating budget.
Jim?
Finance Committee recommends favorable action.
Discussion?
Hi, Ryan Lasante, 6 Daniel Road. There was a comment in there that the pension funding is light years ahead of other towns. What is the purpose of us being light years ahead of other towns? Is that just a factor of other towns being subpar in this area, or is there an active benefit for us to be overly funding the pension fund compared to other towns?
So I see Mr. Sherman rising. I just will say my experience in other towns, towns are putting, budgets are strained across the board. So some communities put very little. The foresight was seen here to make sure we're making, large contributions so that we could do something that we did this evening and tap into it when we need to.
Dan, can you answer that question?
Yeah, I might be able to.
Okay, I was confident.
Yeah, Dan from the member of the retirement board. As I mentioned earlier, I'm an actuary, and I have had out of the 107 systems in Chapter 32 of Massachusetts General Law, and retirement systems, I probably worked on about 50 or 55 of them. I lost count. But basically, under Chapter 32 pension law, a pension plan must be fully funded by the year 2040. There are plans that are already fully funded. Shrewsbury, Watertown, Wellesley, there's a handful that are already at 100%. There are many that are like 35, 40%. I think in Springfield, New Bedford, and a few like that. Our 75% is probably a little bit above average. If you took all 106 systems, we're doing better than the state. We are not doing as well as some other communities that I just mentioned. But I think the real key for Wakefield is not the pension system, because we're pretty much on par. It's back to OPEB. In our assets there, we're about 40% funded on our post-retirement medical, which is light years ahead of almost every other community out there. To be 40% funded at this point is extremely rare. And it's been obviously because it's going to help us out with our budget going forward. Very much plus to the town of Wakefield to be at roughly 40% funded. Did that answer your question?
Any further discussion under benefits and administration? There being no discussion, the motion before you is to raise $21,993,976. All in favor? Opposed? The next portion is the light department, which is technically not under article. Well, it's semi. I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's on page 20 of your booklet. That the town appropriate the sum of $1,297,781 for the operation of the light account as contributory retirement pension accumulation, and it all comes together in the rest of that. D.
The function of this article is to transfer funds from the Wakefield Municipal Gas and Light Department to fund the pension, health insurance, and workers' compensation obligations for WMLGD employees, which are not funded by the tax levy, but the operating budget of the Gas and Light Department.
Is there a second?
Just a point of order.
Yeah.
Do we need the motion read?
Yeah, sorry. Thanks. I thought you started with, sorry.
Thanks.
Just say to see you.
I'm going to do it right. It's my first time. All right. That the town raise and appropriate from tax levy the amount of $1,998,141 and transfer the amount of that the town appropriate the sum of $1,297,781 from the light operation account to the contributory retirement pension accumulation fund account, and to appropriate the sum of $1,920,357 from the light operation account to the employees' group insurance account, and to appropriate the sum of $32,633 from the light operating account to the workers' compensation account, and that the balance of the receipts of the municipal gas and light department from July 1, 2025 to June 30, 2026 be appropriated for the use of the department for other expenditures, provided, however, that if the income from said department shall exceed the expenses of the department for said period of time, the use of the excess, in whole or in part, shall be determined by the Board of Light Commissioners.
There's a second. You open this?
Finance Committee recommends favorable action.
Any discussion under the light department? The motion before you is just recently read to you. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Article 2. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate from the tax levy or transfer from available funds a sum of money for capital outlay as follows, and to see what the town will do about it. Mr. Renzi.
I, Phil Renzi, 8 Morgan Ave, move that the town raise and appropriate From the tax levy, the amount of $1,998,141, to transfer the amount of $435,000 from the sewer receipts to the sewer department capital outlay account, and the sum of $320,600 from the water receipts to the water department capital outlay account to carry out the purposes of this article.
Is there a second? Mr. Renzi.
Thank you. Good evening. Phil Renzi, Chair of the Capital Planning Committee. I serve in this committee as a volunteer, along with Tracy Cleversey, Dave Calori, Frank Conti, Sam Huckleberry, Shane McCarthy, and Garrett Murphy. Each year, we meet, generally in a bunch of meetings. This year was 6 times within a 5-week period between January and March. We were provided our budget by the town. For FY27, we were provided a budget of $2 million. The total of the town's request for FY27 for capital needs was $3,979,541. So our goal is to review these requests and reduce to meet the town's capital budget. How that works, the process is the town departments each submit their department's capital requests to the Capital Planning Committee. Those requests are compiled into a spreadsheet for our evaluation and review. Each department head is then invited to present to the Capital Planning Committee and explain their requests. Questions are raised, follow-up is needed. We ask the department heads to help set priorities for their requests if they have more than one, which most do. That helps guide our committee when we're choosing which projects to discuss approving. This year we met with the following department heads: the police department, fire department, schools, DPW, libraries, and IT. As stated, our capital budget for FY27 is $2 million. Each year we carry a number of leases of previous approvals that carried over, and that takes off basically our top line. So we have $366,641 in prior leases, which allowed us to approve $1,633,359 worth of capital requests. You can see here at the bottom of the slide the initial requests and the final approved for each. There's the sewer division and water division enterprises, which are separate, so those are 2 other votes as well that we take as part of our committee. What was approved, so you can find the full list in your booklet. For fleet vehicles in town, about $747,500. 2 police cars, a fire command vehicle, and a utility vehicle. DPW, a dump truck, a utility plow, a cemetery backhoe, and a new activity bus for the school department. Under the buildings, about $545,500. Camera system upgrade in the library, a thermostatic valve system and windows, which is the last phase of the project for Town Hall. Senior Center, adding air conditioning to the 2nd floor, and supplemental grants that will also add air conditioning to the top floor. Senior Center just went some major renovations, so this is sort of one of the last big things for that building. Public safety garage, floor repairs. The Civic Center replaced the basement door frame and door that were effectively rotting away. The DPW mechanics garage replaced the 3 garage overhead doors. And the largest request this year was the Woodville HVAC request. The rooftop unit is basically at failure, and so we approved that request. And then miscellaneous IT categories of $338,500. Police department service, new service pistols, DPW hydraulic platform lift, and 6 portable radios with batteries for the fire department, a new fire alarm signal communicator receiver for the fire department, a network switch for the public schools, and then a new card reader infrastructure for the public schools as well. And that card reader will bring it more in line with the card, so everything will be using the same system. And that's all I have.
Mr. Sullivan, FinCom.
Finance Committee recommends favorable action.
Discussion on the capital outlay. There being no discussion, the motion is to appropriate to the tax levy $1,998,141, transfer 435 from sewer receipts, and the sum of, and transfer 320,600 from water receipts. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. We skipped 3 and 4, correct? We skipped 3 and 4, and we're on to 5. Hold on. Let's jump ahead. Article 5, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds, including the excess and deficiency account, a sum of money to supplement the appropriations of all budgets for the period July 1st, 2025 to June 30th, 2026, or to see what the town will do about it. D. Casey.
This appropriation is to cover the fire department's...
No, motion.
To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds, that the town appropriate by transfer from free cash, so $625,000 to carry out for the purposes of this article.
There you go. Is there a second?
Again, this is to cover the fire department overtime. This money was needed to, for the overtime purposes to pay out for the remainder of the fiscal year.
Sullivan.
Finance Committee recommends favorable action.
Any discussion under Article 5? Gonna say you better get up.
Daniel Lieber, 1 Elm Street. Taking a look at this overtime, is this as a result of a particular set of incidents? Is there a reason where this is requiring a separate article because this was unbudgeted money originally? What is the root cause of a significant amount of overtime for this fiscal year?
Mr. Moderator, I would ask that you recognize the fire chief.
Chief?
Thank you. See if I can answer that for you, Dan.
You need to identify it.
Chief Purcell, Wakefield Fire Department.
Thank you.
Basically, we have a minimum staffing requirement. So when we use the word overtime, it's a staffing requirement. We have 13 personnel on duty per shift. We have 4 groups of 13. And anytime they drop below 11, we have to hire. It's a collective bargaining agreement, it's mandatory. So it mandates 11 firefighters on duty, so every time there's a vacancy due to military leave, sick, vacation, personal, family leave act, anything, we have a 2-person buffer. We get below that, we have to hire. And it's been an extraordinary year, to say the least. 1, 2, 3 resignations, 2 retirements, 30 missed shifts, 42 missed shifts, 154 missed shifts due to long-term injury, things of that nature. We don't always start with 13 per shift either. So if we have a long-term injury, one of our groups starts with 12 every day, even 11. We drop below 11, we can be hiring that group every day. And we do take a lot of things into consideration. The Deputy Chief and I try to manage that on a daily basis. We only have so much control. The Deputy and myself are currently in contract negotiations, and we are trying to alleviate some of it in different ways. It's not something that's taken lightly, again, but we can only control a certain amount of it. I feel that 11 per shift is the minimum. I will say that Steve Mayo worked diligently over the years. We took a safer grant for 4 firefighters to get to that level. It took a long time to staff our ladder with 3 people. We need 3 individuals per piece of apparatus. It's as safe as you can be. They don't operate with 2. That may be a long answer to your question, but it sheds a little bit of light. Most of it is because of the staffing minimum requirement.
Thank you. Is there does the currently approved budget that we voted on earlier handle projections for the next fiscal year?
That's for Liz. Yeah, we just requested 50,000. And I'm sure that that's not going to cover it. But we can't say that. We have, with all those resignations, we have hired 4. We have another one at the fire academy. We will be up to 55, but we do have one long-term injury, which we are working to resolve. I think that's going to help if we say this every year. And then someone may go out for another reason, but we do work hard at it. I can tell you that. I'm really looking forward to having 55 on duty, which is our budgeted number of personnel. And let's hope so. We're well aware the overtime needs to be low.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Motion before you is that the town appropriate by transfer from free cash a sum of $625,000 to carry out the purchase article. All in favor? All opposed? Article 6. Dr. Conway, are you on?
Done.
Article 8, oh right, I'm sorry.
7.
7. Okay, one of those. Article 7. Oh, I see. I didn't know it was the right. To see if the town will vote to authorize the town council to accept or take by eminent domain proceedings, conveyances, or easement from time to time, giving the town the right to contract and maintain drains, sewers, water lines, retaining walls, streets, and to raise and appropriate sufficient sum of money to carry out the purpose of this article and see what the town will do about it. Mr. Conway.
That the town raise and appropriate from the tax levy the sum of $1 to carry out the purpose of this article.
For second.
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Conway.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. So this is our annual article for Public Works that allows the town council to accept and take land conveyances, easements, for infrastructure improvements. It's essentially an insurance policy for us. It's really big everything.
Mr. Sullivan.
After much deliberation, the Finance Committee recommends favorable action.
It's 2/3? Yeah, right. Oh, yeah, thanks, Chris. Yeah, this requires a 2/3 vote. Unless it's unanimous. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Anybody opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you, Chris. All right. What's the next article, do we think, with this consent agenda? Number 8. Number 8. All right. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds a sufficient sum of money for the collection, disposal, recycling, and composting of refuse, or to see what the town will do about it. Mr. Conway.
That the town raise and appropriate from tax levy the sum of $2,535,526 to carry out the purpose of this article.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you.
The Department of Public Works has requested $2,535,526 to fund the collection, disposal, and processing of refuse, recycling, and the operation of the Mahan Street Apparatus facility.
Mr. Sullivan.
The Finance Committee recommends favorable action.
Discussion under Article 8. Again, good thing you're getting up.
It's a good exercise to get up and
Yeah.
down. It's like being in a religious service.
Exercise and consider duty by taking
So-
out the consent agenda.
So the question that I have, $2,535,526. My understanding is that that's level funded from last year for the existing contract.
No, so the way that was written is actually incorrect. So this is up 26 to the proposal for 27 is about 3.2%. If you remember this time last year, we presented the level funded articles.
Okay, so this is an increase. Is this particular article subject to risk for fuel cost increases with adjustments, other elements, because over the last year, while the department has done a fantastic job dealing with massive disruption in the environment, namely due to the strike and so forth, and the staff just did a fantastic job of covering it, I want to make sure that we're going to have this service provided to our townspeople.
That would be our intent. So presently, we're very fortunate. This is made up of essentially 3 pieces of the contract. The trash, recycling, and the disposal of the trash is another third part. We don't have any fuel escalators in any of that right now. And on the disposal side, our price at the incinerator is capped annually and cannot exceed 4%. So we don't anticipate a geopolitical atmosphere to influence this to the point where we're living in another scenario that we did this summer.
Okay, so just to make sure I understand, the cost for this is not going to be affected by outside components, and this is a longer term contract that will not expire during this fiscal year.
We don't expect any more funds than what we're asking for tonight.
Thank you. Appreciate the diligence to protecting the limited funding that we do have available.
Thank you very much.
Motion before you is the town raise and appropriate from tax levy the sum of $2,535,526 carry out the purposes article. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Article 9. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds the sum of $50,000 to supplement the appropriation under Article 9 for the annual town 2025 warrant, town meeting warrant, and 125 per gallon minute pumper truck for use by the fire department to determine whether to raise this appropriation by borrowing or otherwise, or to see what the town will do about it. D. Yes, got it.
So the town is seeking an additional $50,000 to supplement the appropriation that was made last year by this body to purchase this truck. Any specific questions will need to be answered by the fire chief.
Mr. Sullivan, are you up on this? No. Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
That the town appropriate the sum of $50,000 to supplement the appropriation made under Article 9 of the 2025 annual town meeting warrant to purchase one 1,250 gallon per minute fire pumper truck for use by the fire department, including all costs incidental and related thereto, and to raise this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of town council, is authorized to borrow said sum under and pursuant to general law, chapter 44, section 7(1), or any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds or notes of the town therefore, and to take any other action necessary to carry out this project.
Second. Yeah, I never want to make sure I overlook Mr. Sullivan. That's why I jumped the gun there.
We appreciate it.
Any discussion on the motion under Article 9? Yeah, I know, it's two-thirds vote. The motion is to appropriate $50,000 to supplement the appropriation under Article 9 of the 2025 town meeting to purchase the pumper truck. This is all in favor? All opposed? Anyone opposed? Unanimous. Thank you very much. 10? 10 make it what? Article 10. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate for the tax levy or transfer from available funds a sum of money for professional services to assist in the reevaluation of locally assessed personal property within the town, or to see what the town will do about it. DKC.
That the town vote to raise and appropriate from tax levy the sum of $68,900 to carry out the purpose of this article.
Second, thank you.
Mr. Moderator, I'd like to recognize Victor Santaniello, our assessor.
And a Hall of Fame barbecuer, I might add.
Oh,
go on.
Oh, yeah. We have a competition, sorry.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Victor Sinfanello, Town Assessor, 1 Highland Avenue. Every 5 years, we're required by the State Department of Revenue to engage in a thorough revaluation of all our community personal property and real estate value. Real estate one will be coming up in the next article. For personal property, this will, we were contracting with a company, real estate research consultants, to be going out, visiting, spot checking, approximately 660 current active accounts in our community. We'll also be reviewing all the forms of lists that we mail out to each and every business in the community. We expect that business owners will fill those out and return those to us. If any business owners are in the audience, get them back to us so we can quickly get out there and take a peek at things. And after that, we update valuation schedules, depreciation tables, check for manufacturing status, things of that nature, and ultimately produce all the reports required for the Department of Revenue in order to obtain certification for the valuations for fiscal year 2027.
Mr. Sullivan. Don't go anywhere.
Finance Committee recommends favorable action.
Discussion under Article 10. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate from the tax levy the sum of $68,000. Carry out the first of this article. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Article 11. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate from the tax levy or transfer from available funds a sum of money for professional services to assist in the fiscal year 2027 revaluation of real property within the town, or to see what the town will do about it. D. Casey.
That the town vote to raise and appropriate from tax levy the sum of $36,000 to carry out the purposes of this article, and please recognize Victor Santamino.
Second. Thank you.
What look like me? So, for real estate, this article price comes in at $36,000. Actually, as many of you may know, I do a couple of different towns, and this is favorable pricing because when I do talk to these companies, I'm doing this in all 3 towns, and to make it go smoothly, myself, my staff, we do a lot of the work up front. This involves analyzing all sales from calendar year 24 and 25. It also looks at depreciation and valuation schedules. It looks at every change we made over a 5-year period from the last time they visited our office. The interim years, we do all our own residential, commercial, and industrial valuations. Every 5th year, we have an outside company come in. We've contracted again with Catalyst, which was formerly Patriot Properties in Wakefield. I've been with them 21 years. I've known them all 34 years in my business as an assessor. And we value 9,495 real estate accounts and 463 exempt property accounts.
Mr. Sullivan.
And the Finance Committee does recommend favorable action.
Any discussion under Article 11? Motion before you is that the town amend the general bylaws so it's described to carry out the purpose of this article. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Chines.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Move to continue the annual town meeting to Tuesday, May 5th at 7 p.m. here at the Alva Middle School.
Yeah, okay. Is there any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? See you tomorrow night, folks.
Kill records.